What is up, y'all? It's your boy Brandon Janowski, and today we are here with the ultimate Switch comparison. As you can see, I got the Switch Lite, the regular Nintendo Switch, as well as the Switch Oled. And we're gonna be comparing to see what's the differences and which one you should pick up if you're trying to get one. But before we get to that, if you like this video, please hit like, as it does help me out. If you don't like it, go ahead and hit dislike. And if you want to join the squad, get subscribed because we're having 2 videos come out every week for the rest of 2022. Now let's get into it. First thing, we're going to start off with the price. Starting off with the Switch Lite, this goes for $199.99. The Switch Normal, or the regular Switch, goes for $299.99. And then on the Switch OLED, we're looking at $349.99. So as you can see, there is a much smaller price disparity between the Switch and the Switch OLED, being only around $50. As when you're going down to the Switch Lite, between that and the Switch, you're looking at $100 difference in price. Right. The main differences we're gonna look at today is gonna be the screen size, the battery life, and some of the other features that you do get when you upgrade from tier to tier. Right, to start off, looking at the Switch Lite, you're gonna get a 5.5-inch screen, 32 gigabytes of onboard storage. You're gonna get a non-removable Joy-Con, as it's just one solid unit. And then moving on up to the Nintendo Switch, you're still getting that same 32 gigabytes of onboard storage, but you're bumping up to a 6.2-inch LCD screen, and you're getting the removable Joy-Cons, which make this console, in my opinion, a huge step up. Going from the Switch to the Switch OLED, you're getting that much improved kickstand, you're getting 64 gigabytes of onboard storage, and you're moving up to a 7-inch OLED screen. So that's gonna be a huge jump for only $50 more of cost. Of course, if you've seen our video before, the unboxing and review of the Switch OLED, you know my opinion is if you already own a Nintendo Switch, you do not need to upgrade to the Switch OLED. All right, now let's compare some of those differences. The Switch Lite is going to be more for someone who's just looking to game by themselves or game online. Because you don't get those removable Joy-Cons, this is going to be mostly a single player device. But you can actually connect Joy-Cons to this if you have them, but you will have to purchase them separately, and Joy-Cons go for, I believe, $79.99. So at that price point, you're already getting real close to that Nintendo Switch price. So going from the Switch Lite to the Switch regular, you're gonna get the kickstand, the Joy-Cons, the bigger screen, and the ability to hook this thing up to the TV, which is a lot of features, which is why it's $100 difference. Now, when you go from the Switch regular to the Switch OLED, you're gonna get a bump in storage from 32 gigabytes of onboard storage to 64 gigabytes of onboard storage. You're also gonna go from a 6.2-inch LCD screen to a 7-inch OLED screen, which in my opinion is actually really great. I do prefer the deeper blacks you get on the OLED. My girlfriend wasn't able to see a difference between the screens. She said it was barely noticeable. So that is something to take in consideration. But like I said, you're also getting that bump in memory from 32 gigs to 64 gigs of onboard storage, which could be the difference between you buying an SD card or not. Maybe you don't download too many games and you play straight off the cartridge. So, you know, that could be something where it's like, it's a big deal for you, or it could not be. Also, you're going from this flimsy, super flimsy in my opinion, regular Switch kickstand to the luxurious, multi-size, multi-angle, I would have to say, Nintendo Switch OLED kickstand, which allows you to put the Switch at many different angles when you're actually using the kickstand. The regular Nintendo Switch only has one angle, and that is basically out or not, you know, kickstand or no kickstand essentially. But the Nintendo Switch OLED has levels to it, so you can actually angle it to your preference, especially when you're playing, which in my opinion is one of the best features of this thing. The kickstand, the extra storage, and the OLED screen truly justify that $50 bump in price to me, because you are getting a much, not necessarily superior console, but much more luxurious features, much more ease of use when it comes to certain things. So I really love that about the Switch OLED. But getting down to the specs, all 3 of these consoles have the same GPU and CPU, so they're gonna have the same exact graphics power. The only difference is gonna be the screen size and the extra features I just told you. But in actuality, all of these consoles have the same exact horsepower when it comes to gaming. So if you think that the Switch OLED is a Switch Pro, I'm sorry, but it's not. It's just a bump up in features. That's why it's only a $50 difference. You're not getting a Switch Pro. The graphics are gonna be the same. Even down to the $200 Switch Lite, you're getting that same graphics and CPU inside the console. They all do come with the expandable micro SD storage, which is great. So you can also all bump them all up from 32 gigs up to 128 and up to 512 on the regular Switch and the Switch OLED. From what I could find, the Switch Lite can only be bumped up to 128 gigs on the max side. Moving on to the docking situation. When it comes to the Switch Lite, you're not going to be able to connect this to the TV or use it with the Nintendo Switch dock. It doesn't come with it. That's mainly where I believe the price savings are. So that's why I really say the Switch Lite is more of a single person console. When you move up to the Switch, you are getting the dock. You are getting the ability to connect to the TV at 1080p. And that's just going to be the same when you move on up to the Switch OLED. The main difference being that the dock for the Switch OLED is a much more sturdier build. It does have a higher quality in my opinion. It is a stronger, more sturdier build quality in the dock. But you're also getting the ability to connect to Ethernet LAN. So the Nintendo Switch does not come with a dock that has a LAN port. So you're using the Switch directly, using the Wi-Fi directly off the Nintendo Switch. Whereas if you connect your Switch OLED to the dock, you're gonna be able to use Ethernet, which I believe is a huge advantage to someone who really likes to play online games. So if you're playing Nintendo Switch online, something like Smash Bros or maybe Animal Crossing or whatever you're playing online, you're gonna get a much more solid connection with the Switch OLED just because you can connect it to Ethernet LAN, which is a huge bump up as opposed to just using the Switch Wi-Fi. Now, which one should you get? Well, that really depends on what you want to do. If you're just trying to play something on the go, the Switch Lite is probably for you. It goes for under $200. It's just something you can easily pick up and you're gonna be able to play all the same games. Granted, you're only gonna be able to play them at 720p on the screen. All the screens are gonna be 720p, but you're looking at the different sizes now. That 5.5 inch screen just isn't enough for me. It feels more like a Nintendo DS to me. It doesn't feel like you're actually on a console. It feels like it was meant to be only handheld, which it is, but it doesn't really feel like a full Nintendo Switch. Moving to the Nintendo Switch, just the ability to connect it to the dock is just a huge advantage because you will be able to play all of these games to their fullest capabilities and see it on the TV at 1080p. Even though the LCD is only 720p on the Switch, connecting it to the TV and playing at 1080p I believe is such a great upgrade. Now, when you jump up to the Switch OLED, you're getting that 7-inch OLED screen, but you're getting the same output of 1080p when you connect it to the television or to the monitor, either way. You're getting that same 1080p output, which is still plenty nice in my opinion. If you take the Switch OLED and compare it to the normal Switch, they are actually basically the same size. It could be a millimeter or two difference, but they are the same size as full consoles and they're roughly the same weight. But with the Switch OLED, since you are getting that premium kickstand, it is just a tad bit heavier. I believe it's something like 20 grams though, so it's not gonna be anything noticeable in your backpack or even in your hands in my opinion. Moving on to battery life. The Switch and the Switch OLED both carry the same 4.5 to 9 hours battery life. Realistically, it's more like 4 to 8 hours from my testing. The Switch Lite, however, is only going to get about 3 to 6 hours of battery life in my testing. Of course, this all depends on the game you're playing, the brightness you're using, and several other factors if you're playing with the Joy-Cons wireless or if you have them connected to the Switch itself. But the Switch Lite does have a shorter battery life because it does have a smaller battery in comparison to the Switch and the Switch OLED. I did initially think that the Switch OLED would give me better battery life because it is an OLED screen and usually those are a little bit more power saving than an LCD screen, but I just managed to get the same 4 to 8 hours as the normal Switch. This is not a huge downfall in my opinion, as 4 to 8 hours on the go is more than enough for me. I know some people might need more, but just want to throw that out there that the Switch Lite does have a shorter battery life, especially being the fact that it isn't only a portable console and it can't dock to the TV. That is a little bit of a disappointment from the Switch Lite in my opinion. The Switch Lite just doesn't seem to hold up. We only picked up the Switch Lite because of the stock shortages, and you know, it was the only one available and we were really stuck in the house. We wanted something new to play, so we picked up a Switch Lite, knowing in fact that we were gonna get a Switch in the future, which we obviously ended up doing. But luckily for me, I was able to get my own Switch OLED in the long-term future just recently for Christmas, and I absolutely love it. So, which one would you pick? Let me know in the comments. Would you go for the Switch Lite for $199? Or are you gonna go for the normal Switch for $299? Or are you gonna go for the big bad Switch OLED, which in my opinion is the best one? Maybe you don't agree, maybe the Switch is all you need, maybe even the Switch Lite is more than enough for you. Please let me know in the comments, and like I said before, hit like, get subscribed, and join the squad because we're gonna have those 2 videos coming out every week for the rest of 2022. Thank you again for watching, and peace out.